See Kristi McBee and Galina finally come face to face. With all the drama between Kristi McBee and Galina Salkowska, it'd be fair to assume that the pair would never interact again. After all, Kristi believes her now ex-husband, Stephen McBee Sr., cheated on her with Galina during their marriage. However, Galina's recent split from Stephen Sr., who allegedly cheated on her with her ex-friend, Masha, has seemingly shaken up the women's dynamic as the two come face-to-face in the above preview for the McBee Dynasty, Real American Cowboy Season 2, Episode 6, airing August 4. The sneak peek begins with Galina walking into a restaurant, where Kristi is patiently waiting for her. Upon her arrival, the two share an awkward hug as Kristi says it's good to see her. "Good to see you too," Galina responds. "Thank you for inviting me." The two women sit down together, and Galina points out that it's been a long time since she's spoken with the McBee matriarch. In a confessional, Kristi explains why she wanted to meet with the McBee Farm and Cattle Co. CFO. "I just have to keep reminding myself, what am I trying to accomplish?" she explains. "It's to help Stephen McBee Jr." For context, Galina's feud with Masha has heavily impacted her ability to work for the company, putting immense pressure on Stephen Jr. amid financial and legal stress. "Thank you so much for inviting me. I really wanted to talk for so long I cannot tell you," Galina tells the mom of four. "That means so much to me." Kristi nods. "You're welcome. I was glad you wanted to meet with me too," she replies. Galina Salkowska makes a bold comment that shocks Kristi McBee. Then, Galina explains that she now relates to Kristi, since she's also been cheated on by Stephen Sr., as she puts it. "It's been a lot happening for the past couple of years that, kind of helped me to understand. It made me realize how it felt to be the other woman." Kristi, clearly taken aback, cuts Galina off. "That cut deep," the businesswoman declares. "That wasn't okay," she adds after an awkward silence. Inside Kristi McBee's divorce from Stephen McBee Sr. On Season 2, Episode 2, Kristi dished some details on her divorce from Stephen Sr. "Steve and I were married 28 years. Then I started finding out there was a lot of infidelity. So I filed for divorce," Kristi noted in a confessional during the episode. She also said that when it comes to her sons, Stephen Jr., Jesse McBee, Cole McBee, and Braden McBee, her biggest fear is that they'll end up like their dad. "I see what the boys are going through, and I can see them picking up some bad habits that their father has towards women. I want them to be good to their wives, girlfriends, to women in general," she admitted. During the same episode, Stephen Jr. also gave his thoughts on his parents' split. "My mom and dad had a very, very rough divorce," Stephen Jr. said, "but my mom's done a really good job of growing past all that." Details on Galina's feud with Masha over Stephen McBee Sr. As mentioned earlier, Galina's feud with Masha not only impacts her life, but the stability of the McBees and their businesses. On Episode 3, Galina stopped showing up to work after discovering Masha was in Mexico with her ex. "Galina is truly the most important person in our company," Stephen Jr. admitted on the episode. "And now, no one can get a hold of her. She shuts her phone off. She's been gone for 2 days, and I am f***ing pissed." Even though the eldest McBee son was livid, he also felt backed into a corner. "She's the CFO, and more importantly, she's a 10% owner in all of our companies," Stephen Jr. added later in a confessional. "She's got so much leverage over us right now." That same episode, Galina allegedly snuck onto Steve Sr.'s property to apparently mess with Masha's things. Since their father was away, the McBee boys were forced to drive up to the house and survey the damage. To make matters worse, once Galina returned to work on Episode 4, the McBee boys realized she was drinking on the job to cope with her anger. When Stephen Jr. confronted her, Galina told him his dad's infidelity with Masha made her feel like a piece of garbage. The boys attempted to end the feud by moderating a conversation between Galina and Masha, but that only made things worse, with Galina calling Masha a backstabber. Given the chaos of the drama, it only makes sense that Kristi, aka the peacemaker of the McBee family, would try to stop the fighting. We'll have to wait till the McBee Dynasty, Real American Cowboy Season 2, Episode 6, airing August 4, to see if she's successful. Until then, see the shocking conversation Galina and Stephen Jr. had about the farm's legal issues. The soft hum of the restaurant was a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside Kristi. She watched the door, her heart a drumbeat against her ribs. When Galina finally entered, a wisp of a woman in a tailored suit, Kristi rose, offering a practiced, almost mechanical smile. The hug they exchanged was brief, a brittle bridge over years of resentment. "Good to see you," Kristi managed, the words tasting like ash. "Good to see you too," Galina replied, her voice a low murmur. "Thank you for inviting me." They settled into their seats, the polished wood of the table reflecting the strained silence between them. Galina was the first to break it. "It's been a long time." Kristi nodded, her gaze drifting to the bustling kitchen beyond. "What am I trying to accomplish?" The question, a mantra she'd repeated countless times, echoed in her mind. To help Stephen Jr., that was the sole purpose, the fragile thread holding this improbable meeting together. In a hushed confession to the camera, Kristi elaborated. Stephen Jr. was drowning. The McBee Farm and Cattle Co. was a ship taking on water, and Galina, its CFO, had been a crucial part of its navigational system. Her abrupt withdrawal, fueled by the bitter feud with Masha, had left Stephen Jr. scrambling, facing not just financial woes but looming legal battles. "Thank you so much for inviting me," Galina said, pulling Kristi back to the present. "I really wanted to talk for so long. I cannot tell you. That means so much to me." Kristi offered a tight smile. "You're welcome. I was glad you wanted to meet with me too." A brief lull descended, filled only by the clinking of cutlery and distant chatter. Then Galina leaned forward, her eyes, usually so guarded, holding a new raw vulnerability. "It's been a lot happening for the past couple of years that, kind of helped me to understand." She paused, taking a shallow breath. "It made me realize how it felt to be the other woman." The words hung in the air, sharp and unexpected. Kristi's polite composure shattered. Her eyes, wide with disbelief, locked onto Galina. "That cut deep," she declared, her voice a low, dangerous growl. An awkward silence stretched, thick and suffocating. That wasn't okay. Kristi's mind reeled, flashing back to the wreckage of her own marriage. 28 years, and then the slow, painful unraveling as the infidelity came to light. Stephen Sr. had always been a whirlwind, a force of nature, but the lies, the betrayals, they had been a different kind of storm. She had filed for divorce, a desperate act of self-preservation. Her greatest fear, she confessed to the cameras, was that her sons, Stephen Jr., Jesse, Cole, and Braden, would inherit their father's reckless disregard for women. She wanted them to be good men, to treat their wives and girlfriends with respect. Stephen Jr. had understood. Their divorce had been brutal, he'd admitted, a gaping wound in the family fabric. But his mother, he'd observed, had done an admirable job of moving past it, of rebuilding. Galina's admission, however, felt like a fresh wound, a callous reopening of old scars. Kristi stared at her, the woman who had once been the symbol of her husband's betrayal, now claiming shared victimhood. The audacity was breathtaking. Kristi knew, intellectually, the chaos Galina's absence had wrought. Stephen Jr.'s frustration had been palpable when Galina had vanished after discovering Masha in Mexico with Stephen Sr. "Galina is truly the most important person in our company," he'd fumed. "And now, no one can get a hold of her. She shuts her phone off. She's been gone for 2 days and I am f***ing pissed." Her 10% ownership in their companies gave her immense leverage, and Stephen Jr. was trapped. The situation had escalated quickly. Galina's alleged infiltration of Stephen Sr.'s property, the suspected vandalism of Masha's belongings, the McBee boys driving up to survey the damage. It had all been a chaotic mess. Then, her return to work, fueled by alcohol, her pain spilling out in bitter accusations against Stephen Sr., blaming him for making her feel like a piece of garbage. The boys' attempt to mediate a truce between Galina and Masha had backfired spectacularly, Galina unleashing a torrent of accusations, calling Masha a backstabber. Kristi, the reluctant peacemaker of the McBee family, had finally decided she had to intervene. She had to for Stephen Jr.'s sake, for the family business, for the semblance of order. But this shared trauma, this unexpected claim of kinship, it was a complication she hadn't anticipated. Galina's gaze was earnest, almost pleading. "I know it sounds insensitive," she began, her voice softer now, laced with genuine regret. "But when I saw her with Stephen, it was like a mirror. I saw the pain I must have caused you. The feeling of being discarded, of being betrayed by someone you trusted. It's a terrible feeling, Kristi." Kristi remained silent, her expression unreadable. She had come here for a purpose, to coax Galina back into the fold, to stabilize Stephen Jr.'s world. But Galina's words, though jarring, had struck a chord, a discordant melody of shared suffering.